everyone, Cooks Books. Welcome to my September TBR. I'm really excited about this month's TBR because I've decided to let my tarot cards pick my reads for the month of September. So how this is going to work is I'm going to pull one card first, and that card is going to tell me how many books are on my TBR. So if it's a court card, it's worth 10 normally, so my TBR will be 10 points. If I pick a major arcana card, that could go from anywhere from 0 books to 21 books. So let's hope we don't get one of those. And all the other cards are numbered anyway, so it's kind of fairly intuitive. After that, every card I pull, I will be using the meaning of and the imagery of to kind of inspire me to pick a book that is on my TBR. So let's get into it. So here we have my decks. I have the Mystic Monday, the Tattoo Tarot, and the Unknown Wilds decks. Mystic Monday is here, but it's really bold and graphic, and it focuses on female empowerment. Tattoo Tarot is more traditional. It has old school designs with dual tone colours, and this one on top is the Hermit. It's literally the favourite card I own. The Unknown is the first deck I ever got, and I love it. I am so connected to it. It's got a very illustrated style. It's got a very limited and impactful use of colour. It's really dramatic, and I can get really clear readings from it. So let's flip these decks over. And the first card to determine how many books on my TBR is the Tower, which is a prophecy in and of itself. The simplified meaning of the Tower is a fall from on high or being thrown from a comfortable state, and I had a really good reading month in August, so maybe it's hinting that a slump is on its way, which is likely because the number of this Arcana card is 16, so we've got a giant 16 book TBR to do. So our first card for a book is the Three of Cups, and this particular card is about friendship and journeying to grow yourself and make good memories along the way. Because of that, it made me think of Percy Jackson and that whole series by Rick Riordan, because these characters have grown so much over the series, and even though I didn't read it as a child, it feels nostalgic somehow, and I feel like I am building such fond memories of reading these books. The Ace of Pentacles, all about being given an opportunity. You put in the effort to plant the seeds and you take the steps you need to take, but it pays off. And that made me think of A Room of One's Own by Virginia Woolf, because it's a manifesto about women in the arts, what women need to do in order to have access to those opportunities and the steps they need to take in order to flourish. Next up from the draw, we have the Three of Wands. This card is all about seeing your path and taking it despite not knowing what the obstacles in front of you are going to be. Because of that, I'm thinking of the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, which is a fantasy series about a mother who is on her mission to find her child, and nothing is going to stop her reaching that goal. Oh, I actually strongly dislike this card. Is the Hierophant, which is all about conforming to tradition, obeying authority, and it's got like a strong religious undertone that makes me very, very, very uncomfortable. To vibe with that, I picked Toll, which is part of the Arc of a Scythe series by Neil Shusterman. It's set in a utopia beyond illness and beyond death, but there's corruption in the institution tasked with killing to maintain the population. I've drawn the Hanged Woman in an inverted position. In most decks it is the Hanged Man, but the right way up, she's all about sacrifice and patience, but here in this inverted position she indicates avoidance and delay. There's nothing I've delayed more than reading my Russian classics, so I'm going to continue with The Master and the Margarita by Mikhail Bogushov, who I started reading last month, and it is translated by Michael Glennie. They have stagnated on my shelves. Then we've got the Five of Cups, which is a very sorrowful card, as you can probably tell by this one sad boy in the middle. It's all about grief and resentment at having lost something that is fundamental to your sense of self. So I picked up The Archive by V.E. Schwab. The main character works in a library/morgue where souls are kept but they're getting restless. And she has also sustained huge loss in her family life, and it seems like it's kind of embittered her to the world. King of Wands is a thoughtful, wise man. He usually represents landowners who are community leaders or have really strong values and live quite frugal lives. It reminded me of the father figure in The Unseen by Roy Jacobsen, translated from the Norwegian by Don Bartlett and Don Shaw. It centres on a single family living on a single island. The patriarch is very quiet and very loving. The Princess of Wands this card isn't a huge leap to the book. It's about creativity and being vivacious and having a certain spark of imagination. And so I picked Spark by Naoki Matayoshi, translated by Alison Watts. This book is about a female comedian and kind of like the struggles and the joys of that. And, you know, we've got to get that woman in translation representation. We have the Daughter of Pentacles inverted. So the Daughter of Pentacles is usually a really supportive card, so I thought maybe a sequel or a novella would fit well for this. But she's also to do with all things natural, so in the inverted position I went for a supernatural book, a retelling of a book, and I learned after I bought this book, this retelling, that it is very problematic, so I will not be mentioning the name online anywhere, but I am still going to read it because it was expensive and I would like to, but I'm not going to give it any airtime here. Eight of Swords is about scandal, so there are contradictions and criticisms and blame, but it's possible to heal from those traumas, so as such I've decided to go for another Arc of the Scythe book, which is Thunderhead by Neil Shusterman. As I said, the institution of Scythedom is heavily corrupt and it has an impact on those individuals within it, but there's also some hope that it can be fixed. Justice. This card essentially does what it says on the tin, really. It represents just and fair laws, balance, impartiality, and it's also got this sense of an action leading to a consequence. So for this I've chosen Barn 8 by Deb Olin Unferth. It follows someone who breaks some very rigid rules, and I'm expecting the consequences to be quite large of that. The synopsis of it gave me literary chicken run vibes. The Four of Pentacles. At first glance this is a lovely card because it's a Pentacles card and it's all about material wealth, but it's actually a warning not to be too controlling. So a book that I think suits that theme is Conjuring of Light by V. Schwab. This is the final book in the Shades of Magic trilogy. Red London is the most magical London, and it's under threat because of how miserly and tight-fisted it's been, and it's kind of coming back to bite them, so they could have used this warning, I think. The lovers also have to overcome trials to achieve that sense of peace and alignment, and that reminded me of the blurb for Pulp by Robin Talley. It focuses on two timelines, one in the 50s, one in mostly present day. In the 50s, two lovers are arguing because one wants to fictionalise their sapphic romance as a pulp novel. We also follow a girl in current day who is researching the pulp novels that did get written. Nine of Wands inverted typically means that there is some kind of pain lingering from a betrayal, and there is some kind of consequence of an action. So I picked up Rosewater by Tade Thompson for this card, because there is a human settlement surrounding a strange alien biome which no people have really got in to see, but the ones who have are now being hunted. There is a consequence for them having seen the riches within. We have the Three of Cups again, but this time it's in a different deck. And this is much more representative to me of the vibe of the card. It's friendship, it's family, it's looking out on a sunset and setting off on a new voyage to make memories and crusade to victory. For this card I have chosen Black Leopard Fred Wolf by Marlon James. From what I understand, it's a quest with an unlikely cast of characters turned friends on a mission which incorporates fantastic African folklore, and quite honestly, we love to see it. Finally, we have the Knave of Cups. As with all court cards, it can kind of describe a person. In this case, it's a young man who is defined by his age in comparison to others. He's seen as quite youthful, very studious and reflective. And this reminds me of the blurb for Two on a Tower by Thomas Hardy, another classic. It's got an absolute cougar going after a younger man, and she convinces him to build an astronomy tower whilst the townfolk mutter about his youth and it being inappropriate. So that is my insanely huge September TBR. I had so much fun pulling these cards from my deck and really getting to grips with the meanings of the cards and trying to see which plot elements or which form elements I could link those to. It was a lot of fun, and I might do it again. Let me know if you enjoyed it, because I would be very happy to do more TBRs like this in the future and exercise my baby witch brain. But in the meantime, I hope you have a fantastic reading month in September, and I'll see you again very, very soon. Bye!